We're back in concepts on my iPad, and we're going to be sketching navigation schemes. Now, navigation schemes really help you figure out which options your users can choose, the directions they can move in, and various parts of your product. It helps to define your navigation and the hierarchies within. I always do this at the beginning, and it really helps influence my user flows later and my sitemaps. Basically, this is the structure of your product. So what I like to do is, let's just title this quickly. So number 3 is a different type of flow, and we're going to call it structure. I like to call it structure. There we go. Okay. So number 3. Now, what we're trying to do here is we're really trying to think about navigation schemes. We're trying to think about that structure of our product. Sometimes I start thinking about the different types of screens that we actually do need. The one screen I know we need and that we've actually had sketched a couple times was our home screen. That's that main screen that somebody comes to. So when I think about the home screen, I'm thinking about maybe a welcome message on top. Maybe there's a profile image, just different things like that. I mentioned certain things like having product images at the top. So we can start thinking about that a bit more and what that could look like and what that experience can feel like. Maybe there's some deals at the bottom. But I do know that there is some sort of homepage. So we can kind of create a little icon here. Now, when I think about a user moving through this app, maybe they have a saved page as well. Sometimes we don't want to buy a product right away, or we're waiting for a sale and we just save it to some sort of wish list or something like that. So let's have a saved page. I think that's a really smart way. We're allowing users to keep track of their products. So maybe there's some text there. We have some sort of persistent UI or navigation at the bottom. And over here, it could be something really simple, like just a list of products that they have with some details. Maybe there's a call to action here that, add it to your cart and buy it right away. Maybe this is synced to some sort of notification, like when a product goes on sale. But we could start thinking about okay, we have a home page and maybe we have a saved page as well. I do know one thing we do need for sure, and that is a cart. And we need to make that much more prominent, because if a user adds something to a cart, we want that to be right at the bottom or right in a place where a user can see it and click it easily and notice that maybe there's a notification there. So let's create a little cart screen. And now I'm starting to think more about that hierarchy. I mentioned it a little bit in the last video, but maybe there's a button at the bottom. And if you notice, we've had a persistent bottom navigation over here and over here. And what we've done is we kind of switched that up a bit. At the bottom here, now we have a button that links them to the checkout process. And it'll allow them to easily tap that, especially on mobile. And especially using that kind of design pattern, we're allowing them to click easily and then putting the option to go backwards up top, which is a little bit more harder. But if a user is going to cart, my assumption at least is that they want to check out, review their products, check out quickly. So we want to make that experience really quick. So we have several navigation pieces over here. Cart could live in here as well. Let's draw a little cart. That's going to have to work. Okay, so now we know some basic navigation pieces that we like. Now we can start thinking about our home screen a little bit more. So if we redraw it here, see about making your sketches messy. It doesn't really matter about the details too much. Those start to kind of come naturally later on. If I start thinking about where these different things lead, I can start thinking about the structure of our whole product. So I know that there's a home page, and that's the first layer. This is layer 1. But on layer 2, I can actually go straight to a product page. So I know that's on layer 2. And from there, I can go into checkout. So I start thinking about different ways I can prioritize certain tasks that are really important to a user and really important to our business goals. Okay, there's our cart. But now we start thinking about that. We can also start thinking about, well, what happens after this scenario? A user has gone through the checkout process and they get that nice, happy screen, and their item has shipped. Well, don't you often keep track of your orders? I know I do, but we can test that assumption later. Maybe there's a different navigation piece. We talked about a profile, the little profile button at the top, and maybe that leads to like a user settings page or like your current orders, but doesn't seem like that is prioritized, and maybe that should be prioritized. So maybe we could create an order screen. So if we go back up, maybe there is an order screen. And let's draw that up just quickly. Right here, we can start thinking about maybe you can search your existing orders. I'm not sure if that's a feature we would build right away, but we want to build like the minimum viable product, the pieces, the features that users really want right away. So if we think about what you would see on an order screen, you'd probably see your products that you ordered, their details, and maybe the status. There's multiple statuses that we need to think about, and this is what I mean when we're talking about the different requirements that just naturally surface when we start thinking about different components on a page. Right here, this could be a product that has been shipped, and there's like a map with a tracker that's like pulsing. You can start thinking about things like motion a bit. Maybe over here, this is a delivered one. So we could start thinking that, we have maybe a fourth navigation piece. I would argue that, your search is a part of your navigation because it's a very prominent feature for a product like this. Being able to search and find products is so important. So from here, what I would naturally do is I would start kind of, sketching a little bit more screens, thinking about how these different screens link together. I would actually start building some sort of like mini sitemap. So I know that home is like my ground zero. And from home, if I move over, I get items, the product description. I can get to, what else can I get to? I can get to like a category possibly. So let's write that in. And there's other things like, okay, so this product is about personalization. Maybe there's like an interesting portion about like interest. Maybe that's front and center on something like a product like this. So maybe there's like, I don't know, a component around interest. So I start thinking about these types of navigation trees. We can also think about saved as well. Like we created a saved page. So if I make a little box here for saved and I go down, I can start thinking about where saved actually leads. I know I have products. I can go to an item description page, and that obviously can lead to the cart. This isn't an entirely complex product, but it's a lot of different ways you can find certain pages. From saved, I could probably go directly to a checkout. That would be awesome, especially if something comes up as like on sale or like a flash sale. That would prompt a lot of people to probably just bite the bullet and buy what's in their wish list. Maybe we have other items that are relevant to them and whatever's in their wish list. Maybe if they have something in relation to like shoes, maybe there's another pair of shoes that we can kind of push to them and hopefully they'll choose those pairs. It really depends. So we could start thinking about this navigation tree, which will definitely affect how we build out our sitemaps. So that's how you can take an approach at sketching navigation schemes. It's a really easy way to just kind of get that overview of your application. I mean, we just kind of scratched the surface over here, but I urge you to kind of go back. You don't necessarily need to copy exactly what I did here. Like I said before, use what you think is best, whether that's like paper, do it digitally, refine them, ask questions constantly, never stop asking questions because you'll find different routes like we did. And that's navigation schemes.